Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody on PAC 14 who's joining us and announce that the council has just come out of closed session. The council met in closed session to discuss a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy of a bid or a proposal for the water tower and to receive an update on the bricks. Okay, first item on the agenda. They're having trouble with the mics, so. No, it's warm in here now. You should have been here a half hour ago. Come on in.
It is not warm.
Chief, you're up. You're up.
We'll agree to disagree.
You're up.
It's not warm. Aren't you glad you kept your coat on?
It actually was about 20 degrees colder half hour ago, so this,
I would have turned around and gone back home and got hot
Absolutely
chocolate.
perfect.
Yeah, definitely. That would have been for me. Whew. We'll send Jake over to Main Room to get us
a
coffee.
little coffee.
Hot chocolate. Probably
He
is.
probably did. He probably did.
He's been warned not to come back empty-handed again.
Chief, it's good to have you here.
Thanks.
We're talking about body camera policy and resolution. All yours.
All right, well, I know that the policy was distributed,
Mm-hmm.
so are there any specific questions that I can entertain concerning this policy?
I guess maybe, this is typical, I guess, countrywide with departments that have video. Is this a standard?
Very good question. No. There are a lot of different considerations in each state across the country for this type of equipment and how it is deployed. So we looked across the country, and we also looked to International Association of Chiefs of Police. We looked to Police Executive Research Forum and other professional entities. And we looked at the State of Maryland Chiefs Association, who actually conducted a work group on this. So we went large, and then we narrowed down, to our state, and even got some area policies here within the large region that we serve in. It is a compilation of all of that with specific eye towards the legislative requirements of the state.
My question is, how often will these in-car and body cameras be calibrated so they will continue to be accurate in time, date, and visibility?
Right, so they're required to be checked every time they go into operation. In fact, that's part of the check sheet that the officer has to go through. And if there's a problem noted with the system, it is to be reported right then prior to going out.
Okay, and now when you're entering into a home with those cameras, how will you go into that home without invading someone's privacy?
Well, privacy is a huge issue. Privacy not only of the public, but privacy of the officers themselves. So you'll note that there are several spaces here in several places in the policy which speak a little bit to that. There's public space, such as areas, like this, or the sidewalk, or gymnasium, and then there are spaces that are considered inherently private, locker rooms, people's homes, public restrooms, things like that. In the event that we are called to a residence, we automatically have a privacy issue beyond that of our police officers. So if we're there, if we're called to investigate a crime there, we would announce you're being audio and visually recorded, may I enter your home? Typically, the resident is not gonna want that, and we would deactivate the device. Now, let's say that once we're in there, we discover that a crime has occurred within that residence. We would then go ahead with our normal processing, which would include stills, any video, and any audio recordings that we need to document evidence of that crime in that location. So that covers your domestic violence issues as well.
Are these the auto on that we looked at? I know we've changed a couple of times.
No, we don't have, that is not what we have. We do have the presets for the ICVS, in-car video systems. That, we do have presets for that where they will automatically come on during certain conditions. The biometrics and the auto-on and the real-time streaming capacity, all of that is not the generation that we have. That is still developing. Love to have presets, but it's not here yet. It's not what we have purchased. And I don't know if that will be available in year 2 when we get the upgraded version. I have no idea if that will be ready for the product that we have yet or not. But certainly, we would look for that.
Now, can you catch me up on, I know they made some changes to state law, I think they made the changes, I think they passed last year, regarding the privacy and release of the videos or editing of the videos. I'm not sure what all was included with that. I can't recall at the moment.
Well, right now, and understand too, that the vast majority of the $180,000 that you authorized us to expend was for the back end. And what I mean by that is storage and then editing and producing those necessary copies for prosecution and defense. So the actual camera itself, literally, was around $300, which, when you think about the whole process, is not where the heavy lift came in. We were, with that money, we were able to purchase 70. It's not the 102 that we wanted, but we can do this over time. The vast majority of that came in the storage issue and then the ability to edit. So there are certain things that we have to be careful when we receive a Public Information Act request that we protect. And that we're kind of looking a little bit of guidance from our state's attorney and our city attorney on what can be released and what can't be released. And the editing feature is really difficult to manipulate as well, too. It's not as user-friendly as we had hoped it would be. But we are keeping up to speed with those issues.
Hopefully that will improve as well.
I think over time, I think over time it will, and really what we're talking about is the ability to pixelate faces of, say, uninvolved parties or children or things like that, things of that nature. And it's not an easy process.
No, because as the video moves, I used to edit wedding videos, so I understand, and I do it day to day at my day job, so I know it's as far as like when they're coming in and if they have video from several incidents on their shift and they're bringing it in to upload it, is that, are we immediately then identifying that video as this case number? Is that how we're documenting it in the system? And then what is the retention period of the video in the system?
Well, we have a 120-day retention period, and unless that video is flagged or earmarked or we get a request, at the end of the 120 days, it just moves into the erased batch. It just drops off. And the vast majority of our video does do that, quite frankly. Now, with the two different systems, the in-car video system, the officers can review that. That's reviewable right there in the vehicle. With the body-worn camera, the officers cannot review that. On both systems, they have the ability to go into the computer, and they're supposed to be labeling and tagging, right then and there. And they can go back later also and tag and label, but we prefer they do it up front because it makes it easier in the long term. And then to review the in-car video, the body-worn camera, they actually have to put a request in because that just uploads automatically. And then we need IT to allow them to view it from that point. Kind of slows our processes down a little bit, but that's the system that we purchased.
Could I ask a question? Okay, you said the 120 days is actually, if it's not used, is going to be erased.
Unless it's tagged, yes. Unless it's preserved, correct.
Case or
Okay, and
something.
what cases would they be preserved? And what?
So any event which is going to go to trial, or anything that we get a request, a Public Information Act request on, or anything where we get notice of a suit on.
Okay, and then how long after that will you keep it, or does it stay in the file, or does that erase after somebody?
No, we keep it. In other words, we're going to be making an original copy, and then we make copy for all parties.
Okay,
Okay, but in case of a suit, my problem is 120 days is not very long. And they have, what, 2 years to bring suit in most cases if they were to allege that an officer did something or that something happened.
It varies from case to case, but they have to notify a municipal government within 6 months of their intent to bring a lawsuit.
Okay,
We
but-
always get those notices that we send off to the insurance company. So that's why that you can sort of get away with a shorter deadline, because if they don't
That's
send
only
in that
4 months.
notice, they lose their right to sue a government.
Okay,
So,
so we need to move that to 6 months probably instead of 4 months.
Well, it's all about system capabilities.
It is at this point. You know, that was part of the discussion when we initially included both our criminal attorney and our city attorney in this discussion process. And that really, that's where the large struggle in a lot of this, in a lot of the capabilities of a lot of municipalities to manage a program effectively. You know, there does have to be some consideration to the back end. And
Memory.
Well, yeah, video, I mean, if a picture you take is 1 or 2 megabytes, a video for
Yeah.
15 minutes could be 1 gigabyte.
and understand that
And it's,
it gets rather large, and then it exponentially gets larger, you know, as we begin saving more and more. Today, I can tell you that it's not an issue. You know, we're just getting started. But 2 years from now or a year and a half from now, that's going to be a different story. The price package that we got, we're covered, but it has to be reviewed annually at budget time so that we can be assured that, you know, we're saving the ones that we need to be saving. But certainly that was the consultation that we had. That was the discussion.
Well, suppose someone, okay, I'm just gonna say for certain, someone, you go to court, use the video. Okay, the person gets time, the suspect gets time. He comes back and wants to appeal. Do you still have that on file, or how do you do the video? Because he wants to bring that video back to,
Right, so we actually, like I said, the defense, the state's attorney's office has a copy, the defense attorney has a copy,
okay.
and then there is an original copy that is tagged and preserved. It doesn't go anywhere. And that's where the building.
That's where the
Yes,
memory
okay.
starts
That's
coming
right.
after
That's what
about
you're
10
saying.
years.
Well, once
you
the
have a-
buildup gets,
yeah, once it's been burned to a DVD, you're fine. You don't have to you don't have to worry about it coming off that system once it's on the DVD. That's because that's where you're hoping the officer will identify and flag the incident, because I mean they should know that. You hope that they know that an incident. Maybe this is one I need to flag. I mean, you know,
And there are copies outside of the agency that exist. We produce them for the other parties as well.
the reason why I'm just asking is because when you say after 20 days, if it's not
120 days.
120, I meant, it's not being used, that they, you know, you discard them, they're erased. And I just wanted to know, are there just certain ones that you keep, which you've already explained?
Yes.
Yeah, you already explained that, so I understand.
Yes. The interesting piece of that is that knowing that something is going to, you know, it's better to flag than not to flag,
Mhm.
to preserve it, but keep it out of that automatic
Erase.
erasure file,
Mhm.
which, you know, as we move through this process, officers are going to become better and more skilled at doing that and understanding it, and that's where we get that building of storage that comes forward.
One of the, this is very well done, by the way, although I did have to read a couple sections twice just to
Well, you weren't alone.
make sure that I had it. 'Cause
How many times did you read it?
But I think everything's covered, but for the benefit of the individuals, our citizens who are watching at home, could you just talk a little bit, because it has come up before in public meetings, about training for the cameras, just briefly? What training's going to be?
The actual training for the system does not take long at all. You know, it's essentially understanding what that camera does or what that in-car video system does for you, and then how to turn it on and off, and how to label it in the computer system. You introduce the policy, which tells them when they must turn it on. It's the actual practice of doing it that takes the longest to become comfortable with, and automatic too. And even even though we've had our 9 cameras deployed now for many months, it's still not inherently, it's not a fundamental reaction for them to turn it on. And these are individuals that volunteer, these are individuals that believe in the system, but it takes a concerted effort to get in that mode. Oh, I have to turn this on.
Right.
You know, it's just another step in the process.
Especially when you're in the heat of the moment of a chase or an investigation or whatever it may be, to stop and think for that second to turn that on.
And that's where most of our training comes in. So a lot of those discussions with the officers that have been using them, having them speak to the new wearers as they come in to talk about the issues they've been having with it and to try to remember to turn it on. And as we have them out deployed more and more, you know, it'll become second nature, but it certainly isn't there now.
Well, in what instances will they be allowed to turn it off while on duty?
So the policy speaks to that. Like I said, if we're going into private space and they're not observing a crime right there, then certainly they can turn it off if they've been requested to do so by the party that has responsibility over that space. And then at the conclusion of a call for service, specifically tells them when to turn it off.
So for each call, they're going to need to turn it back on. It's not going to run continuously unless they turn it off.
Right, it doesn't run continuously. What it does do is 30-second pre-buffer,
Right.
you know.
So it's doing
Goes back and
it, but
recaptures that.
it gets rid of it.
But it's
Right.
just dropping off, it's keeping 30 seconds when they hit the button.
Right.
They'll have the previous 30 seconds recorded, and then
Which has already become interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And we didn't get past with legislation the part about having to ask permission to record, correct?
Right, well, that's just part of our protocol. They're announcing you're being audio and visually recorded. That's in here. It's a good policy, and unless they're operating under exigent circumstances, you know, that's exactly the type of engagement that we want. And, you know, that also goes to narration too. We want them to talk. We want them to get on that recording, and, you know, we want those present sense impressions. We want them to narrate through, which is another, you know, difficult hurdle for them, but we're still moving forward with that.
Right. Yeah, the only concern, and I'd shared this before when we talked about the cameras, was someone who you told that to, and they had ill intent, or were not necessarily in control of themselves and said no, and then as soon as it's off, then they start something. And now you have no video, and then you get in court and they're like, well, why did the officer turn it off?
Mhm.
But,
Well, that happens
so
now.
does it have that,
That-
will you keep that few seconds of them saying, no, turn it off?
Yes,
Well,
yeah,
30
that's on the
Yeah.
recording.
Okay.
Once you turn it on, then that becomes part of the recording.
So, and that would be tagged when they upload it because something happened
Happened
subsequently, so you would have that.
Exactly.
Okay. good.
Exactly.
Any other questions?
no, I think it's what's been added. I like what I read, and Jack, I read it a few times this weekend, and I think it covers everything we need to cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, just keeping up with the updates as they roll forward through the state. And, you know, we're part of almost a nationwide laboratory at this point with these devices. And more and more police officers that wear them, they become big supporters and big fans immediately of them. But, you know, there are other training areas, there are other areas of concerns that agencies have, you know, reviewing and looking at best practices and how we can evolve and how we can improve policing services is all part of that larger laboratory that we suddenly found ourselves in.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chief.
All right.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank you,
job
Chief.
on that.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Okay, the next item is a budget amendment. Chief, my favorite topic.
At least one of us is a favorite topic.
I say that semi.
I get it. I get it. Well, good afternoon, council, and Mr. President, thank you for inviting me to attend. Before you is a request for a budget amendment to get money from our surplus account to replenish the fire department's buildings account, which we have experienced several unanticipated large expenses from our building account for the fiscal year. We're not quite halfway through the fiscal year, and yet we are almost at zero in our building account budget. So we're not going to be able to finish the fiscal year and maintain our physical facilities at the rate that we should without having this budget amendment before you. We had approved such expenses hoping to be able to manage or defer several expenses that may occur later on the year, but unfortunately the situation is such that we can't defer them any longer. So we're here requesting a budget amendment in the amount of $35,000 to move from surplus to our buildings account.
Could you just give us a brief thing about the large, what are some of the big ticket items that have?
Yeah. Council may recall that last year we had a quite sizable expense to our HVAC systems for the headquarters portion of our Cypress Street station. Now the fire station side has experienced some failures as well in our HVAC services, along with Fire Station 1 also had a smaller repair, but was needed to be funded. But most of the most of the shortfall in our HVAC services has come at Fire Station 16 side of the repair. There's a repair that needs to be done now that we don't have the funds currently in the account to do. So we're running at about half efficiency in the Fire Station 16 side of our building, and it's. Thank goodness we've had the 70-degree weather, so we have had to defer that until such time that we might find additional funding. And after reviewing the rest of the general operating accounts of the Salisbury Fire Department's budget, all other line items are tracking either at the appropriate rate or above the appropriate rate. So there's really not a lot of room for us to move money from account to account to cover the shortage.
Questions?
No,
Questions?
pierce my tongue again.
One of the other items that I see is the potholes in Fire Station 1.
Yes.
How's that handled, Tom, in terms of, we would do the work ourselves, wouldn't we, instead of?
I think Chief's going to contract this work out. I'm not sure.
It's already been done and it was contracted out.
It was contracted out. Why do we do that? Just for my own.
It's probably twofold. One is that Public Works already had enough on their plate that they weren't able to get to it, or perhaps it was they didn't have either the equipment or the expertise to perform the repair.
Okay.
Not to say that they're not very talented.
Generally, what we do is when the opportunity arises, we would reach out to the vendor that Public Works has already contracted with and given us best pricing. In this particular case, they were not responsive to our request. So we went with a different contractor.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
The other thing, for my engineering thing, it said here particularly sinkholes, which scares me. Sinkholes are a little different than, in engineering terms, sinkholes are a little different than potholes. Was there an undermining of something or no?
No, you have phrased it more appropriately than I did. Potholes being the appropriate term. Essentially, the issue is that the sub-base for the parking lot is really what failed. And it wasn't, probably, I'm making an assumption here, that the sub-base that was put down prior to, or when it was originally put down, was probably not able to withstand the rigors of a fire engine running across it.
Or when they cleared the land, they buried a
Or something.
tree.
But it wasn't to the point where it was a complete sinkhole. It was certainly a pothole.
Okay.
But we had an additional expense with making sure the sub-base underneath of it was more adequate.
As I can remember when I was younger, that land was actually, when it rained, it just flooded. I remember that very, much, and I'm just thinking maybe that is a contributing factor too.
The building was built in 1986, and soon after that, we discovered that it was very heavily laden with water.
Yeah.
And so some repairs were done, and subsequent to the addition and repairs that were done in 2004, French drains were placed in so that we weren't undermining the foundation of the building and stuff like that. So we've taken the precautionary steps and really don't have that kind of problem now. So we're just assuming at this point that it was an issue with the underlayment, not underlayment's the wrong word. What did I say a while ago? The subbase. The subbase of the asphalt was really probably not appropriate for the weight that it takes from the fire trucks.
Yeah, okay.
We're kind of having the same problem with our driveway between Lake Street and the Cypress Street building. Instead of using concrete, we used asphalt, and we put the correct subbase down there, and it's still rolling up. At the end of the driveway, there are several potholes, not sinkholes, but
Yeah,
potholes that are
I saw
occurring, and they're
them.
getting worse. So we have that in our CIP as a future project.
Okay.
The original budget amount for this line.
For the buildings line, $58,300.
Thank you.
Our annual use over the last 5 years has been hold on, I'll have to get my glasses back on. Our actual average in this account, $74,533 is what our, over a 5-year period, our average actual expenditures are.
Thank you.
Do I have consensus to move this forward if there's no other comments? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it very much.
Thank you, council also.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yes, thank you.
You're up.
Council's considering at this time the tuition reimbursement program. I'm picking this up from Mr. Garrett, who happens to be out on leave. By the way, we still haven't heard anything yet about.
Nothing?
No baby.
Nope,
No
baby
baby.
Garrett.
Trying
so-
again tomorrow.
Try again tomorrow. Okay, well,
Time
that's
for
good
the
news. Maybe
railroad
we'll just
tracks.
hold off till Christmas and have another Christmas baby.
There you go.
So it sounds like to me, based on the council's last review of this proposal on October 19th, there were just a few improvements that were recommended. On lines 25 and 30, changes were made there. Submissions must be made to the department heads by January 1st of each calendar year so that the funding can be incorporated into the next year's fiscal budget. Obviously, we're pushing tightly up against getting that done so we can make some adjustments for FY17 and then get into the appropriate cycle after the fact. I will share with you that a poll last week of current employees, we had 1 person who is enrolled and 3 that are interested, for a total of 4. So we think with a smaller number of individuals, 1 not being aware of the program and 2 it not actually being in place yet, that the participation will be higher later on. But we think we could cover those folks for right now. So those changes were made.
Great.
On lines 46 through 51, changes for the wording so that the department head has more leeway to approve a course that might not directly correspond to an employee's job duties, but may reflect a future job within city government. That was also a request of council. Those changes were made. And then on lines 103 through 105, we added the requirement for an employee to repay the city for any tuition reimbursement made within 1 year of their voluntarily resigning. And I believe that was all the council asked for during the October 19th session. If this were to be approved, it would require a change to the employee handbook.
The change to allow, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The change to allow classes that aren't directly related to their current position changes the taxability of those reimbursements.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Cordry?
I was thinking about something.
We changed it to allow the department heads some flexibility in approving classes that aren't directly related to their job. I think the idea was to allow them to take ones that are required for a degree that is related to their job, which would still be non-taxable. But if they get into ones that qualify them for another job, then that would be taxable, correct?
I believe so.
So there may need
We
to be
should
some
notifica-
oversight
yeah.
from finances
Okay.
or payroll,
Yeah.
human resources, whether, which is the case. Is
Okay.
this an elective for a degree program, or is this for something, for a different job?
We can certainly do that, and as we get more familiar with the process, we'll make sure we cover those issues, but thank you for bringing it up.
Good point, thank you. Jackson, any questions? Vote?
I do want to throw out one other thing.
Throw it out.
The economic forecast the other day, Peggy Nalepa made a comment that I thought was very interesting, and that was that they don't make their employees pay for the class anymore and then get reimbursed. I'm not asking that we do this, I'm just throwing it out for future consideration. They pay for it up front with the expectation that they're going to be successful. I thought that was pretty interesting point of view. I see the pitfalls.
Well,
Blatantly.
yeah, and
Potential issues.
the opposite side of that is, in the teachers in the county system, they have to wait till afterwards because you have a huge number.
Oh,
So
sure.
your initial outlay
Yeah.
can be great, and then some drop out, and then you
Yeah.
have other issues.
Yeah,
so,
no, and then it's hard, if they leave, it's hard to get it
Yeah,
back if you've paid for it, or they don't finish the class, then you end up tapping their wages and.
yeah.
So, I understand that, but I
Yeah.
I wanted to share that
Yeah,
perspective
no.
with anybody who wasn't there.
Well,
I
to
thought it
them,
was-
that's for them in that field to try to attract people.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, so.
The expectation of.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
good.
All good, thank you.
Craig, you're up. Come on up here.
You're turning that.
Feel alone, we'll all come up. Will you come up
Come on up.
as well?
Oh, here they go.
Yeah, because I want you to provide a little bit of. Civic Center.
Okay, great. Yeah, come on up.
Welcome, everybody.
Well, you just invited the whole party up.
Well, we now have no audience, except at
Frank,
home.
there's a seat over
Except
here,
at
too.
home.
So I'll start. As the council knows, we recently, finally, after some number of months or years, got to a final contract with Comcast, part of which included tech support in the way of a capital grant. We'll still be required to provide 30% of the franchise fee, that being 5% of the cost, for qualifying charges. 30% of that, 5% that we recover from Comcast will go to PAC 14. This year, in addition to that funding, by way of its capital grant, PAC 14, or the PEG channel in particular, will receive, thank you, Keith, will receive 80 cents per customer per month for the capital funding. I am pleased to report that I spoke with my counterpart at the county level, Mr. Strasburg, and they are just a couple of weeks away from signing their cable franchise agreement, which will provide the same level of support for the PEG channel, or in this case, so the dollar figures are going to be much higher. If you wanted to know exactly what they are, I would defer to Mr. Cordy, but Keith, if you would, we received a payment recently, and can you tell me what the dollar amount was for the capital funding for PAC 14, or have we received anything yet?
We've received one payment, and it was for the amount of $12,715.
So we're close
But
to
we
30.
don't know that that's for a full quarter.
was gonna
that
ask.
for-
Yeah,
Is
full
that,
quarter.
is that
Yeah, we
we
can't
don't know.
When
extrapolate
did we
that
adopt
into
it?
times
Adopt
4.
that? I don't think it is.
But I have sent an email to PAC 14 if they could provide an annual estimate of what that 80 cents should be.
It's based on the subscribers. so-
Right.
But they
But I'm
did-
saying we don't have the
they
subscriber
provided a
count, so
projection for
we've
us.
asked them to supply that, to translate that into an estimate so I can share that with you.
Okay.
I just fired off an email this morning to
Okay,
them.
thank you. So that's sort of providing the background, and I know those of you that were on the council at the time have heard enough from Comcast and those negotiations, but I did want to give Mr. Twilley an opportunity to talk about what his plan would be for those funds
Yeah.
and where we go.
Sorry. I think they did give us an estimated number over the 10-year period, but, that's gonna fluctuate, obviously, but I 2 million sticks out in my
I
mind.
believe it was 2 million.
That's for the county and the city.
Yes, if
Oh,
the
that was
county
for
and
both.
city are in
Okay.
together, then we're getting very
So
close.
10
So
million.
we're getting close to that if they sign.
If they sign, at the same rate with the same anticipated number of users. Currently, we're getting very close to $1 million. That would be improvements for the office building. The new head-end unit. I'm using the wrong terminology. All those years I spent working on that agreement. Anyway, equipment at the fire department headquarters and equipment at Bennett.
Wherever you guys would want a venue, a live capability of live venue, and that's to be determined. I know the new firehouse has been at the top of the list, and that's actually in the under section 8.2 return lines.
Return on.
Yeah, the fiber and the digital equipment needed to convert the signal, but that's paid for by PAC 14.
When there's an emergency,
I should know
county
better.
out at the fire department with you guys, or are they somewhere else?
No, they're at the 911 center on Naylor Mill Road. But we, initially when the negotiations were occurring, we were looking at multiple locations that would include some locations for the county as well. But when we got to that point where we weren't sure we were both going down the same path, we sort of pulled back and said, well, those are county asks. Let them take care of what they want, and we'll work on what we want. So that's where we ended up with here and headquarters.
Right. I'm just thinking going forward, because this is split half and half, obviously there's going to need to be some consultation, consensus reached with the county
Right.
on what we do here, and then from what we do from there, unless they're going to take, this is my pot, we can do this, and this is your pot. It seems to make a lot more sense to me to do it together, because I think we can get some savings there. But I don't know, that's why I was asking, are we at the same location? Because the reason for having it out at the fire station, be able to broadcast live, was in cases of emergency. That's where
At
the
this
city
place. Right.
congregates, that's the
Okay.
command center. But the county, if they're at the 911 center, then they're probably going to want the same capabilities there. So that's
Yeah, I
why
think
I
you
was
guys
asking.
need to talk and see, is there one place it can be? Are you going to need 2 locations, or is there something that would work for everyone?
And sometimes we have a large meeting coming, we have it out there. There's a couple of reasons to have it at the fire department, but that was one of them.
Do you know the maximum occupancy right there in the conference room at the fire hall?
Chief
It's like
just here.
200, something like that, 250
In
probably,
our-
in that conference room?
No, you'd probably be lucky to get 50 or 60 people seated. That's not with tables, so. And then you always have the ability, I guess, to move it into
Bay.
the bays, where we could get a number of people. But I don't think they have much in the way of a larger facility at the 911 center. I know when I've been out for training, it's a similar
they-
size
No, the 911
space.
center is not.
So,
Yeah.
but we can work some of those details out.
Right,
No,
right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it in the training room.
Mm.
When we have a council meeting that we expect to be large, we sometimes move it there, because
Mhm.
without the
That's the
tables, you
room I
can
was
get,
referring to.
yeah,
Yeah,
not the
that's-
conference room. You can
yeah.
get more than 50 in there.
Yeah, I
Gotta
meant
be closer to
the large-
100.
100, I think 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's still,
I'll
I mean,
defer to your-
it's still
It's
100.
not.
It's
yes.
not 200.
Yeah, it's
Right,
not
right,
large.
it's not
Yeah,
an
it's not a-
auditorium, right,
Right.
so.
It wasn't designed for. yeah,
Well,
for
they've
that.
also got Board of Ed room, right?
Right.
And they've got the Civic Center right, they use the Civic Center.
Yes, the Midway room.
Midway room.
Mhm.
Now, the Board of Ed, since they moved, I don't know if they have broadband run to them already.
I don't know.
Because part of our big expense is the broadband,
Right.
correct, running the line.
It's, according to what I
come
was
right off
told by the
50.
consultants, it was 5 cents per foot for the fiber. And that's for a mile, that's $264 if I've done my math right.
And that's,
But that's just for the fiber. There's probably other costs. It's not going to be that
oh,
cheap.
no, it's opening up the,
Yeah, you've got to have
the
the,
road. And so, and that's 50, from Route 50, because it runs right down 50 to the fire department. Is that a mile?
from here to the fire department.
No, not from here, from it, they have broadband, Maryland broadband runs right down Route 50. So we should be able to
Oh,
tap
okay.
in somewhere
It
along 50.
depends on where the hookups are.
Right.
Yeah.
We should ask that
Yeah.
when we're dealing with them for downtown.
And I think that's why, with them moving, they were talking about going to Bennett, because Section 8.2 return lines, ours are from PAC 14, the fire station, and then GOB, so that's the 3 connections. Bennett Senior High would actually be more a county location, so I think that's why that was was part of the early discussion. Because it is.
Okay.
But, Mr. Troy, can you talk a
Yeah,
little
what do
bit
you-
about what your
What are you
plan is
gonna,
for
what are you gonna
the
do?
government office building?
What do you wanna do?
Get that money?
He wants to know what we want to
I
do
wanna know.
first.
Well, I think the priority
What
is,
the needs are.
is
See,
right
I'm not
here.
the expert, he's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
expert, so let's,
Well,
have him
Right.
tell us what we need.
I have Mr. Peterson from the county, and he works for the Civic Center's audio. He's worked at SU. He's already done a proposal. I believe the first fix in here is audio. And of course, we have to look down the road, like things have to work now, but then they have to be able to be used for future updates. So he's come up with some things. We've got about $3,500, I think, somewhere in there. Is that still reasonable?
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's just audio receivers in the back. It doesn't include new mics. It's just the new receivers. We can't really control the equipment back there. It's locked out. And as you know, sometimes people sit back like this.
Yeah.
Their speaker, one of the big problems that I see, just based on my experience, are speakers in the ceiling, that when you turn those up so people can hear, they're feeding back through the mics.
Especially anything facing this way.
Yes.
So whenever we have somebody sitting here, which we
Right.
found,
Right.
we get the
So-
feedback.
I think
longer, I'll just make sure.
just in our beginning, we talked about some new units back there for audio that we can control from the back. So Keith can, like somebody is sitting back, he can crank it up a little bit or turn it down and control the speakers. Now, I don't know if speakers in the ceiling are the most efficient, if there's another way to put speakers like on the wall shooting out this way so they're in front of the microphones.
Yeah, it would best be to put them up, especially
Hang from the ceiling.
hanging
Hanging from the
Maybe
ceiling.
from the side walls,
Where
or
the
little
corners.
brackets.
pointing
just
out
kind
that
of-
way.
yeah, and then-
Because the
but-
problem is like, as they are, it's just
Yeah.
coming down.
Right,
and
right.
like
I
you
was
said,
hearing, sitting back here, I was just hearing feedback.
Mhm.
So, can you guys hear each other typically up here, or do you count
Yeah,
on
we-
the?
No, we can
No,
hear each
we
other.
can-
You can hear each
Yeah,
other?
this is okay, as
Okay.
long as you.
So you don't need any monitors, like they call it a feedback monitor, or fallback
No.
monitor for
No.
yourselves?
No, But we do hear the feedback up here
Yeah.
too.
They do make these microphones with speakers on the microphone that will broadcast everybody except your microphone
Oh, okay.
to yourself, but those start getting expensive.
Yeah, the $3,500 is a
Hmm.
basic, replace the receiver and the electronics in the back, doesn't include mics or cable. I think realistically, we should look at more. If these mics are working fine,
Well,
They're pretty old, they might
they're
not
not
be
working
compatible.
fine.
yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't
but-
say fine.
I guess my question, and I'm a little
Okay,
confused.
okay,
I get confused easy, so.
I do too.
We,
I'm sorry.
stay off the eggnog.
I had to do it, I'm sorry.
So the only adjustment that we've got now is up or down, in other words, it's the same for
It's like
all
the
the
heat.
mics.
Yes,
No?
at the amplifier level. You don't have anything on the
Okay.
broadcast end or the minutes end. You don't have any low-level adjustment. The only thing you have is this final signal going to the speaker.
Okay.
We want to make it so that the operator, I think the original thought was make it so nobody can touch it and adjust it. Well, now we're keeping the doors locked back there. People shouldn't be using that as a break room, number one.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, then there won't be anybody back there adjusting it. Now, I know during special meetings, there needs to be audio, but that can be, I believe, preset and not a problem. But occasionally, people forget their mic's off,
Mhm.
or it's too far away, back, so the operator can have some control. Plus, it's just old, everything's old back there.
Different people speak differently. So
Yeah.
for your meeting, the person sitting at any of these chairs is going to sound different than someone at the county council who's sitting in your same chair.
We can't hear anybody at the county council meeting.
Right.
They
Well,
talk
all
very
lean back in
softly,
their
and
chair.
it's very difficult to hear
Right.
any of
You
that
really
stuff.
have to be close to the mics. These mics are designed to reject a lot of sound from around, but you've got to be close. 'Cause they're made to just pick up right in front of you. I mean, I'm probably at the perfect space right here about.
And from everything I've seen and heard, the microphones are working fine.
Mm.
Everything on the table seems to be working fine. It's in the rack room where it's gotten aged. It was either never set up correctly to begin with, or has been.
It's been adjusted over the years by so
Yeah.
many different people. We don't know what we've got.
Okay.
So part of that improvement to the, I just learned the term, rack room, will also be including the new speakers at that time as well.
That may
For
just
that
be
35.
rewiring, so that might be possible within that price range.
I think we need to do a little more research. I think the $3,500 sounds great, but I think it's going to be more than that. And that's just for audio. We've
Yeah.
got to upgrade the video, the cameras, the switcher. We're using borrowed, well, not borrowed, it was donated from the university right now. The original equipment is
Died.
gone,
Yeah.
long gone.
Yeah.
So for
But we can
all
take
of-
it in stages to make, but also make sure that what we're buying now is upgradable, or not upgrade, what will.
Compatible.
what's compatible, thank you, with what's new. There's so many new things out there, cameras. I would like to stream from here directly. We can stream from PAC 14, but I would also like to have, and maybe, maybe that's not necessary, but a direct stream, and everything you buy now pretty much has a built-in stream capability. So we could stream directly from here or PAC 14, depending on which one is more efficient and cleaner to do, easier to do.
Do you have a multi-year plan that you have in stages to see what's coming down the road?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
In terms of technology,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah.
um,
And desired technology, I mean, there's technology and then there's desired
Yeah,
technology.
what's the future?
And then there's affordable technology.
It's going to change every 6 months to a year anyway, but
Yeah.
streaming is critical.
That's
Yeah.
more on the
Which-
standards they select for broadcast. really.
Right. We can't go high definition for at least 3 years, and with 120 days, and then 90 days, and then 120, I mean, it's going to be 5 years before we get HD, and in 5 years, who knows?
Yeah.
4K.
Absolutely, yeah.
By the time we get HD, it'll be 4K or 8K, which, of course, we don't need.
Right.
But I think our signal, and when you have somebody home with a widescreen TV and they're taking this standard definition and stretching it out, it can look pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
I want too high a definition.
Right.
Thank you very much.
But our plan, I think the priority should be fixing the audio. That seems to be the most complaint right now
Mhm.
with hearing you guys, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I would,
I mean,
I would
audio
agree.
is as critical or not more critical than the visual.
My only issue with that, as you said, everything changes every 6 months to a year, is the compatibility issue. If we don't buy it as a package, I don't want to put $5,000 into the audio,
Right.
and then when we get next year to the video part, well, the audio is not compatible, we have to replace that again, and so I'm just wondering if it
Robbie can
I
Mike.
think
address that.
the good news here, the equipment that we're looking at in particular works with today's system, but it also has the outputs. It's pre-configured to work with the modern cutting-edge equipment. We're not going to be jumping to tomorrow's cutting-edge equipment when we do this upgrade. We're going to be trying to get to either today's or maybe one step behind today's
Mhm.
cutting edge, because you honestly don't need
Right.
the cutting edge technology in here. So with that said, I think the equipment that we have selected should hold you out through the lifetime of that equipment, 5 to 10 years.
We can look at it further. We asked for something that we could control as individuals in the back. So that was a little more difficult. It may be, we can look at something else, but basically the output of all the signals, the audio and the video that are going to the cable boxes, there's got to be a little black box in between them anyway. So no matter what signal is coming out, we're sending a standard def SD, and then there's a box to convert that to fiber. Well, if it goes to HD or whatever, then there's another
Different
little magic box
right.
in between to convert that signal. And those boxes are everywhere. You can get those
Right.
they're always upgrading those, because when somebody comes out with a new signal or a new cable design, then they have to build a new box to convert it to what most people are using.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but I totally understand where you're coming from, and I agree. So we just have to keep an eye on that.
What's holding back going HD sooner than 3 to 5 years?
that contract.
Contract.
They didn't want to give
You
the
want to go
HP
back and try to
bandwidth.
open that? No, I'm just only kidding.
They did not want
They
to
didn't.
give us HD at all.
No, not at all.
And the way it's configured now, it's a side agreement that says, in 3 years, you may ask for HD.
That's standard though, I mean, they do
Yeah.
that with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to get to a certain threshold
Yeah.
of hours of
Yep.
programming before you'll
To
consider.
discuss the possibility of making PEG access programming available in high definition.
That was as good as we could get.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know
We tried.
that there are counties and municipalities in other areas of the state that are HD,
The
Right, like
density,
Carroll
yeah,
County.
there-
but it's about
We-
The density is so
Yeah,
different.
we were told that we were the first, I believe, we were told the first in the state, in state of Maryland. I remember that conversation, that there was nobody else in Maryland at this point that has it, but I may be,
I thought I was pretty sure Hartford County had it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I'm not sure they're with Comcast either.
Okay.
But I think this chamber for the public is the most critical. They need to be able to see and hear these meetings. And right now, we're running cable or fiber through SU to us. I mean, that's working. It's working now. So let's take care of this first.
Mhm.
And I'd like to put some lighting in here,
Better lighting.
some, maybe some soft fluorescent or LED, and get rid of these overhead lights that are shooting down that give you guys raccoon eyes.
Really? Never noticed.
Craig, just for the council's benefit, how much time and expense are we looking at in terms of getting a return on it over at Station 16? 2 years out, 5 years out?
Well, the contract says we have to ask for it. Then there's 120 days, they have 120 days to get back to you. Then you have 30 days to get back to them. Then they have 120 days to get started.
3/4 of a year.
So when we ask, it'll be a year.
Well, I should call tomorrow.
Yes.
If you know for sure that you want to have the fire hall as a live venue, a possible live venue, I would start now.
And the cost, any idea?
They,
Outfit that,
they're gonna have to tell you that.
okay.
Yeah, Comcast.
It won't hurt to have the discussion.
Yeah, okay. I'll contact Chris Comer and see what the
I'd like
process
to,
looks
I'd like to be in on that meeting too,
Okay.
if that's
Oh, yeah,
possible.
I'd love for you to be there
Yeah.
because they.
Because I need to find
a lot
out
of
about
information that I don't understand.
the channel guide that we'd like to put up.
Right, right. And that was included as part of that was supposed to be done, wasn't it? Oh, no, that's right. We have to go and get it.
As
That's
long
right,
as we
yes,
pay
yes.
for it, we
Yes,
can have
yeah,
it.
Right.
Yes.
They may.
But they don't,
makes-
Comcast, it's done through a third party.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure who that is. I was given a name, but I can't find anything online about them. So I want to reconnect with.
some of that's gonna depend on the timing of the revenues coming in from that, and how long it takes to amass enough to do this, or if the city is willing, I mean, by the time we get through all that, it says they can take up to 120 days. They might call back in a week and say, yeah, okay.
That's
So,
possible.
it's unlikely, but it's possible. But if we see that that's something we want to do, it may be something that we put in the budget to do, and then repay it from those revenues as they come in.
Well, that's why I think, I alluded to it before, but I think we need to look at a plan. And then when you match, you have what our needs are, and then we'll know what the dollars are.
You know what's
and
coming
then we'll
in.
match it, and then
Mhm.
you can make it out, these are our milestones, and this is what we think we're gonna do, based on the assumptions that we had made. And that would be, I would suggest we do that.
Yeah, we've got to do a lot more equipment research, and another big issue for us will be, where is PAC 14 going to be? Looking now, at this point, I know of no changes that are being made, but there's always talk of moving us maybe downtown somewhere, or
Yeah.
moving us around. So before we spend the money on getting the direct fiber to where we are now, and I'm just throwing this out there, that's another question, that before we say, hey, let's run fiber, which I'd like to have direct to PAC 14, because right now, like I say, we're going through the university, we have no direct connection with the head end here, so.
The university moving out of the gallery building over there, someone mentioned to me, I think I know who it was, but I won't say because I'm not sure, that would be an ideal location to put PAC 14 right across the street. There's room for studio space, there's room for.
We definitely need
and
more
certainly
space.
with running the broadband down here, that's a better connection. And that provides a lot of opportunity there.
Mhm, yes.
So you're right, that's something else that we need to look at.
And there may be more space available at the university. That's something I'm looking into as well, but I won't have an answer for probably 6 to 8 months on that.
Is the
We'll
lo-
assemble a work group and get started.
Is the location, SU drives that, right? Their location?
Not necessarily.
No, they're donating space at this point.
Well, I mean,
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
location
They have-
on the campus is up to SU.
Might be reasonable to ask them what their long-range plan says.
That's in the works. Mhm.
Okay. And, okay,
And I'll
Great.
have, as soon as I get that answer, you guys will know.
great.
Just know that when you ask that question, there's a possibility that the answer is not anything we want to hear.
Well, it's better, you know.
Yeah.
There is
better
no
to know the
long-range plan that
Right.
includes you.
Better to know
Well,
than not.
then,
Well,
then
but
at
we
least
should
you
know that
know
as
it, and we
well.
can start,
Right.
we can start
Yeah,
looking.
maybe it could be a combination of things of trying to figure out what SU's goal is, what you guys want to do, and if we have a couple different options and maybe a couple different price tags. That's something, at least where we can work up
Sure,
several
we've got to
choices.
know what the facts are before we can make the decisions.
Exactly,
right?
so if we have
Exactly.
several
You
options,
don't want to go and
yeah.
do a whole bunch of.
That's why I don't want to go ahead and
upgrades.
run the head and cable or
Yes.
fiber to
Right.
where we are now.
Until we know what the
Right.
long-range thing is.
There was head end, you had it right.
That's another one.
Two words. Now you got
Then
two
there's the
words.
DTA,
The file was,
the digital transport
Right.
adapter.
Yeah.
oh, and I knew that one too.
Okay.
We have some of those in the building.
All right.
But, yeah, so I think everybody's in agreement, right, that it's the chamber is first, the audio part of the chamber is first?
I'd like to,
Yeah.
I'd like to really, unless you
That's
guys
really
are
what Craig
thinking,
was looking for, was
Yeah.
where do we
Yeah.
start?
yeah, unless you guys are planning, do you know of anything where you guys may
No.
be moving? So let's, okay.
Yeah, no, and I
No.
think it's, the fire department, I think, is a key place that we need to have for live broadcasts. And I don't know, as you look at the audio equipment and stuff, maybe again, that's something we could have a couple different options on as far as.
Oh, there's many options out there.
Well, I know that
Yeah.
there's many options, but if we
But-
can work a couple different things in with the speakers and.
Full system options rather than.
Yeah,
Yes,
just to get
price
an
out.
idea.
Yeah,
of-
here's your basic
If
and
we're
then-
gonna make a decision on what's most important here at the meetings, which is the audio and preserving the audio, I think also we might even wanna look at as having the clerk the ability to tap into the audio, because I know sometimes
Thinking
when
about that too.
when I've listened back on the audio
Yes.
of the meetings, sometimes you can't hear who's at the podium. You can't, the mayor might say something and you can't hear it. So I think that's something we need to look at, being able to tap that in and just record just directly from the microphones.
So you have an audio file, a record of the.
Right.
You're doing
They
that.
do an
bring that
audio
little
file of
tape recorder.
every
Right,
meeting.
right.
And we were going to preserve that, although the distribution to it would be more efficient.
Yeah.
Now, would you want, you're not tapping into this system right now for that?
I'm hooked up.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we want to, preserve that and make it better.
Right.
Right, make it better is the point.
Yeah.
It's not 100%.
The big stumbling block we've got right
But I
now
think
is
that's
lack
because
of
of the-
control.
Right,
And so
Right.
getting that control,
It's adjustable.
right.
because they
Right.
can't control it back there, then it fades in and out. The other question that I'll ask is, just throwing this out there, is there a specific reason that emergency operations are run from the fire department rather than here? Because if we're gonna do the live streaming from here, then that could avoid having to run it out there. Or is there,
That facility seems to be the most conducive for our emergency operations because they have cooking facilities, they have
True.
Places for us
Generator.
to sleep, they have a generator, which we do here. They have showers, so it's just,
Okay.
if we're into a long-range event,
right,
that's the better.
okay, well, that makes sense, that's why I was just
Right.
asking.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate
This
it.
is,
Thank you all.
this is great, great stuff.
Go forth,
Really
fix
looking
us.
forward to getting some new equipment in here.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you are.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Craig's gonna be like, yeah, let me go do the meeting.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Would you like me to stay, or
So
shall
we'll be in
I?
touch.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you.
We've got an are you gonna handle the ordinance, the special meeting?
Oh.
That one?
For the budget
It's not
amendment?
slated
For
to
the-
4:15, it's just a
Four
budget amendment.
4:15?
Just a budget amendment, I don't think it's,
Yeah, I think,
yeah, we don't.
we're okay.
That's all it is. I
Yeah.
mean, I just.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be
Thank
all
you.
right.
Have a
You
great
can go off the
holiday.
clock.
Oh, thanks. I'm gonna go back and work.
Well, then have a happy
Plenty to
holiday.
do, but thank you.
Merry Christmas.
A happy.
Okay.
Happy holidays, Mark, if I don't see you.
I am kind of curious about why we didn't do the dump truck one along with that. Like, if we
It
did
wasn't
the dump
as
truck.
critical. I mean, we could have, but
Okay, council boards and commission assignments. I had sent out a request and everyone responded in a timely manner. Now, some of the commissions that were on the list didn't exist, or we don't participate in.
Okay.
But anyway, it was on the list. There's a summary, if you have it, you should have it. There's a summary sheet that has the positions that people requested. There are some commissions that, for instance, the town gown and the planning, Salisbury Wycomico Metropolitan Planning, that are specified. Town gown is chosen by the town gown by SU. So, and they're set. The rest of them, however, are not. So if you look going down, we have an opening on the airport commission, and we have 2 people for the recreation and parks, and 2 people for that want to be on the zoo. And it's a shame Jim's on to both that have conflicts. I wish he was here, but he's not. So we're going to make some decisions.
I'll take the airport commission.
Thank you, April. That makes that really good.
Yes, it does. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. The Zoo Commission, Ms. Mitchell is already on that commission, correct?
Yes.
Is there any other commission that anyone would like to not be on, so we could put, so Jim could have 2?
I mean, if you want,
In other words, I'm making you an offer to get off of a commission.
but it's up, I mean, Laura, you have any you wanna forgo? Cause you're on 4, well,
I was just counting. I was like, what?
2, 3.
3.
oh, okay.
Got 3.
Okay, let's put your names in a hat.
I mean,
I think for continuity purposes, I have no trouble with Ms. Mitchell.
Well, the only thing about
Yeah.
Parks
You
and,
could have-
Parks and Recreation is, I'm already on the commission. And I think Parks and Recreation wanted to bring me on as the city, and they wanted to find a new person for the west side of Salisbury.
Right.
Because that's what I was representing.
Yes.
But I don't really, because I only have one thing that I'm on, so I don't know. However y'all want to do it, it's fine with me.
I will, let me talk to Jim and see if,
you'd have PAC
If he's
14.
interested in the Marina Committee or the Traffic and Safety Advisory Committee, that's fine. The city park, I really want to be on the city park committee.
okay. So, let's, If he wants to be on bicycle pedestrian advisory, that's fine, I can switch that. I have no trouble with that. I got enough on my plate.
Oh, come on.
Let me talk to him and see. So what we're going to do is, April, you're going to go on and fill the opening in the airport commission,
Okay.
okay? Airport. Laura will stay on the zoo, and then Jim, we've got the possibility, where you say traffic and safety, the bicycles, pedestrian. You know, there's one missing too here.
I thought so, too.
The
Mayor's Council of People with Disabilities.
disabilities, yeah. Mayor's
Yeah.
Council in support of individuals with disabilities.
Let me take the Council on Disability, he had the airport commission.
Mm,
No, I think you take the airport.
Okay, okay.
You take the airport. All right, I'll work it out with
Something
Jim.
with the airport that you're on.
We'll work it out with Jim. He's got a couple of choices, so. Is everybody okay with that?
yeah, God, I just thought of another one that,
It's not on here?
oh, the homeless coalition. I don't think we have a seat on it, but we used to send somebody, and then it kind of dropped off, and then I think we're trying to get back into it. I know Jake went to the last one. I don't know if we're supposed to have a seat on it.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. It was just a
I think
question
we were
that
just
had
going.
come to me, then, so.
Diane, I assume you talked to Michelle about the list of boards and commissions, because I know they've been working on making sure everything was up to date. Should I walk across the hall and ask her if she has anything else, or are you comfortable with?
I think we're maybe missing 1, 2, 3.
It seems like we're
let me
missing
just
a
check.
couple.
I mean, I know Diane knows what she's doing.
See, there's 13 here, and I thought there were 15.
I thought that there was,
Well,
Well,
we know
there's-
that the Mayor's Council in Support of People with Disabilities definitely isn't on here.
The ethics is also another one, but I don't think you all are supposed to
No,
necessarily
no,
be
there's
on
nobody
that.
on there.
No, there's nobody on that one.
Right.
No council seat on that.
But what's up with the airport? Nobody wants it. Somebody tell me something.
No. Yeah.
I've been on
It-
for 4.5 years. and
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of need new perspective sometimes.
it was a
And
time,
there's a lot of
it
changes
was
going
a
on
time
there
thing
right
for
now.
me, the time of the meeting.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's
Was-
every Monday, every Monday there's a meeting, it's a 3 o'clock meeting,
So if you
Yeah.
on that same Monday.
does that look right?
It's a 3 o'clock meeting?
1, 2, 3.
Every
When we
Monday?
have a six, no,
7,
only when we
8,
have the
9,
6 o'clock, when we have the legislative meeting.
Okay,
Zoo,
3 o'clock meeting.
Here, I'll check them
Yeah.
off.
okay.
So
So
For
the
me,
recycling,
at-
When we
so
have
the
our 6
recycling
o'clock.
committee's
Makes it
not
hard
on
for
here.
me to get
Right,
out of
saw that.
school in
That's
Japan,
that one.
and I get
Okay,
here at 6.
understand.
But do we have a representative, representative on each of these that are on this big list?
As far as I know, that's the list that was,
After.
That I've
There's
seen.
Nobody on ethics, nobody on elections.
Yeah, there's nobody on ethics, and there's nobody on election, I know that.
I think Tim used to be on recycling.
Mhm.
Yeah, but he was on there for his quadrant, I don't think as a council representative.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the
He-
one that's
yeah, he's
here,
on-
the mayor's council on support of disabilities, we need to get somebody on that. That's for
Not
sure.
recycling, so scratch that.
Yep, we're not recycling, so scratch that. So,
Well, if Jim wants that, that's fine, or I could take, when do they meet?
it's once a quarter, and it's at lunch, generally.
Okay, I could do that.
Meeting times on
Yeah,
there, I think.
I'm gonna say it.
Certainly have.
Quarterly call, no, it's a call, it's based on a call.
Okay.
Commission
Green
on
tea.
Aging, we don't have one on there, right?
No, historic district, no.
No,
Housing board and appeals, no.
no.
Central district, no.
Wait,
That's
central
it.
district?
CDC?
CDCC.
CDC?
C.
I thought there was somebody on that one.
Mm-mm.
There's
Okay.
no, yeah. Other than that, so we're only missing one.
One.
We're only missing the one.
The disability.
Yeah.
And then,
Let me ask Jim if he wants that one.
yeah, that's fine.
And if he doesn't, then we'll do
And
that.
I would ask about the homeless coalition if we, at one point had a seat and it's kind of fallen by the wayside, if we're supposed to be,
I'll find out.
might be a good idea, given some of the things that we're working on.
The green team, where do we stand with that one now? Is that all up in,
Yeah, we're in good shape on that. We're very close. That's our last requirement to meeting that,
do we need a
Sustainable
representative?
city.
sustainable cities,
Do we need a representative? No, okay,
staff rep.
that's good. Okay. All right,
And that may be what the homeless coalition is, staff rep, I don't know,
Can I
but,
get that back from you?
sure.
no.
I just did squigglies on it, so I made notes over here too, so. Okay, good, thank you. Council discussion and approval of the meeting dates and times. I've been given this a lot, God bless you.
Thank you.
You know, we've had some discussions when we're one-on-one and et cetera, but question arose because now we have two of our members that work full-time. And we're specifically looking at the work sessions because the council sessions are pretty well set. And maybe what we can do is agree that these meetings are okay as they are now, and they adjust for holidays. And the dates looked right to me. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them. Are there any issues with the regular meeting dates? Now, having said that, we may run into the same situation next year with the regular meetings because the charter calls for one meeting in December,
At least
at
one,
least one,
June and
and
December,
December.
because of the MML and the
Right.
holidays.
Right. So,
We usually
We
put
can do
them on
it
there
the
and
same.
cancel them if we don't need them.
right. So we can leave it on as a posted meeting and then cancel it if we need to. The 26th, I would say, might be a good choice of December. But, so if everyone's okay with the regular meeting dates, we'll let those stand. The work sessions. I'd like to have a discussion and an opinion about whether or not we believe that we need 2 work sessions a month. Opinions?
At this point, in terms of workload, probably not. When I first came on council, we probably needed 10. For a while, even after the council changed the makeup, there was a lot. It slowed down a lot. At the same time, I anticipate we're probably going to see some acceleration again, but not to the point of having two or 3 hour work sessions required. But if we don't have both of them, the way that we have arranged the workflow now depends on having those 2 meetings where we come together and have discussion. So my thought is if we could do them both at 4:30 instead of, or even whatever time we settle on, but not do the 1:30, just move it. Traditionally, it had been kept, there used to only be one, then they added the second one. They decided to do one in the daytime so people that don't drive at night could get there, and one in the evening, so vice versa. But I don't really I've never seen any real difference in the timing. If it's a topic driven, it's not time driven as to who shows up or doesn't. So that argument for me, as far as what time, doesn't hold water. It worked for everybody before, so we left it, but it doesn't work now for everyone. So my suggestion would be to try to move them both to a consistent time. Well, the other argument was staff time, that they didn't have to stay afterwards. So if we're looking at,
That's one of my concerns.
if we could do like a 3:30 twice a month, and probably be out of here by 4:30 or 5. in most cases.
You're one, so.
Yeah, I mean, typically my work schedule is 8 to 5.
Okay, so that
so-
doesn't help you.
I mean, we've got some changes coming in the next month on our schedule. But, I mean, 7 to 4s I can do and get off. I mean, today I just happened to be off, but, yeah, I mean, if it's something that I know ahead of time and I can plan for it, and I mean, even if we do, I know it's not been done, but traditionally, I know like the county council sometimes does a work session with a legislative session sometimes, but they only meet twice a month. And so I don't know if that's something to think about. But, you know, and I understand the staff time of having them,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we're gonna hear from Tom in a second. Let me just, April, what do you think? What's your opinion?
I'm kind of like Laura with the staffing and having them work over. But, so the other two can be present. I think we should kind of work around them somewhat so they can attend these meetings. And it won't be any kind of, you know, struggle for them getting here or missing a meeting or coming in late because they have to work. And I just think, like Laura, I think 3:30, 4:30 would be fine.
Yeah, 4:30, and the other thing, this is a work session, so
Yeah.
if we need, we can work with the agenda a little bit if there are key issues.
Mhm.
Right, so
We can adjust
easy
them
stuff's
to the
first.
end, and so that if,
Right.
for your benefit, if you
Okay.
want to come in at 5, we'll be
Okay.
fine. Now, the real key to this whole thing, Tom, is how does that affect, well, let's take two questions. First question is, if we went to 1, what's the impact on the staff based on our current load? Because you're right, when I first came on, it was packed. It was like, and even in a year,
Yeah.
it has dramatically gone down, and it seems to be very consistent in terms of volume. What do you see?
Well, the council president will have to forgive me for not being prepared to speak to this issue because I didn't know that it was an option, but I'll take a shot at it. It is doable. We can make it work. The only thing that concerns me is if we go to one work session a month, some things are going to come to work session and then sit so far out before they actually come to legislative session that there'll be some frustration. Of course, we'll have to make modifications to the schedule. If there's some sense of urgency on a particular item, we can get it to the next legislative session. But it is doable. The adjustments that we've made to the scheduling process, it works much better now than it did in the past. Previously, some of you may recall, we would go to work session on Monday night and have changes that needed to be made, and then everything had to be back to the clerk by Wednesday at noon to get it in the packet for the next Monday, and that just wasn't working. So that's why we went to sort of the staggered cycle. But if it's the council's desire for me to go back and take a look at it, I'm more than happy to do that. In terms of my preference, I would suggest that we continue to have the 2 work sessions. And there's always the possibility of offering to staff, and I know we want to keep comp time down. We don't pay any of these folks overtime. They could always stagger their schedule for that day. If they're going to have a work session, they could come in at 10. Now, these are mostly department heads, and they really need the time at their desk. But that's an option if they wanted to adjust their schedule a little bit in terms of availability. But either way, we'll make it work. But you've asked for my opinion. Twice a month is preferred.
You know, the loss of family time for the staff is really big on my mind, and that's the only thing that really holds me where I have questions on.
But they haven't been really long sessions.
They
So
haven't.
it's, you know,
Yes.
they can get in and
We
get
could
out.
get in and out if we get out by 5:30.
And that's the thing, is that if we go to 1, a couple of things will happen. The one that we have is gonna be much longer, and it's probably gonna start at 4:30. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be most of the evening. And then you've got the 2 council meetings that are in the evening. So now you've got 3 nights out for decent periods of time. The other thing that could happen, you have emergencies come up, you have issues that come up. They're either going to just show up on the council agenda at a legislative meeting when we haven't had a chance to discuss it, and we end up doing it then, which prolongs those meetings, or we end up calling special meetings, and I don't like doing that either. I like for them to be published. To Mir's point about, or suggestion about backing them up to the legislative meetings, 2 issues that I have with that. Initially I was like, yeah, let's do that. We'll only hear 2 Mondays instead. 2 problems. One is the airport commission meets at 3 o'clock on those days, the days of the legislative meeting. So the chances of being able to get from the airport back to here in time for a work session could be really challenging. The other thing is our work sessions don't typically have a hard and fast time span. And so if it were anything, it would have, I would suggest after the council meeting, because the discussions can get rather lengthy.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I am prepared mentally after a council meeting to be able to discuss intelligently
Right.
work session materials, so.
Well, what I'm hearing, and see if I can summarize it. It sounds like we all believe that we still need to do the 2. It would work out. So, I also believe that 1:30 meetings aren't gonna work.
No.
We're gonna have quorum issues, we're gonna have other issues. There's no doubt in my mind. So, let's do this, if I can get consensus to do this. Let's keep the 2 meetings, change the time to 4:30. Let's run with that. Tom, if you would just check and see, in terms of, I'm worried about the same thing that Tom had mentioned in terms of we've got something on the agenda and then throw another monkey wrench. Mark comes up with a legal thing that we have to have looked at a second time, and we have trouble now on some occasions getting it the night that we're ready to vote on it.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. So let's do that. Let's have Tom go back, if he would, and come back and we can discuss this again. But let's, in the meantime, change the times to 4:30s. The dates look fine based on the calendar. I checked each one of them and had my wife go over them with me so that we said, does this make sense? And it makes sense. So let's do that, and then we'll evaluate it again.
I think it'd be less confusing to the public as well to know work sessions are at 4:30.
Yeah.
Legislative meetings are at 6 instead of sometimes it's 1:30,
Yeah.
sometimes it's 4:30,
And people
sometimes it's
get
6 o'clock.
confused, whether it's the
I get
first-
confused.
I always have to look at it, and it's the same thing with the county, because they do the one day, and I never know which one is which. and-
Right.
Okay. Good. Okay.
What,
Yeah.
when's the MML convention?
It's June
June
26th,
I think it's
believe
6.
this year. Yeah, I believe that's the wrong thing.
Or are we just gonna leave
We
that,
usually leave it on there in case we need it.
Yeah.
and
just in
then
case
we just
there's something with
cancel
the
that one.
budget goes a little bit longer than anticipated?
Yeah, that's the next topic,
Budget
so
can't
hold
go
on
by
to your,
then. It has to be done.
hold on to your hats, we're having that
Yeah.
discussion now.
So June, yes, it really starts on the 27th, but and people start going down on the 26th. So it'll wrap up on my anniversary. Hey.
While we're talking about meeting dates and times.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Budget.
Well, I mean, I can tell you what my plan is, whatever days we have it. I'll be using vacation days from work. I get 4 weeks, so, but that's just kind of what I anticipated to do for that. And I know that there's going to be some day sessions, but that, I mean, for me, that's what's going to work.
How many sessions did, Diane, do you remember how many sessions we had?
Too many last time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably just at least 10.
Yeah,
What do you
at least.
think?
Council?
Yeah.
It was probably
With the
13,
budget work
14.
sessions, I mean,
Well, we've got a new budget guide out this year, and this is my 3rd budget with Mr. Cordry. We've already met with the mayor a couple of times to talk about process. So I think when we get to the point where council's reviewing the budget, it's going to be a little tighter, a little cleaner. Each year, we've heard some of your concerns, and we're trying to address those issues. So I think we may have a product that we can get through a little more quickly. I'm confident of that. So still going to need a number of sessions, but probably not 10.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
And we are going to have some day sessions. There's no way we
You
can,
get around
we'll
it.
be here until 2 o'clock in the morning some mornings, so,
Or here every single night
or here every
for
night.
3 weeks.
So we'll,
Not happening.
Bring your sleeping
we'll
blanket.
try to be as sensitive as possible, but
It's.
you
that I've
shouldn't
already-
have to use vacation time
Well, that,
to.
I've already, that's gonna be really the only logistical way for me to do it, so.
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah,
All
once you
right.
consider Saturdays. And
Oh, I mean,
but then
I,
that
you know,
every staff is on them, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
I've
yeah,
had
that's,
already, this was, knowing that's what I was.
all right, we will find a way to work through that. The last item on the agenda is council tablets / laptops.
I didn't, I'm sorry, pardon the interruption.
Yes.
I didn't get anything back yet from Mr. Garrett. I reached out to him last week. The one thing that would be helpful for me at this point is if I could at least get a survey of what each council member would prefer in terms of equipment, whether it be another Surface Pro or a laptop, and then that would help us understand where to go.
Yeah, I
So-
don't think anybody's particularly thrilled with the Surface Pro.
Okay.
I've gotten accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You want
had
another
to.
one?
You get used to it, but
I mean, it doesn't matter.
But when I don't go to,
Do you-
when I don't get on mine, like for maybe a day, I'll go back and it's done something entirely different. I'm like, what happened here?
some of that is Windows 8. If you upgrade to the Windows 10, the thing that keeps popping
Yeah,
up,
offered it to me today.
do it before you get a whole bunch of stuff on there.
Yeah.
And it's much better
Are
than
you
8.
okay with it, or do you?
I'm okay with it. If they wanna, you know, if they're gonna upgrade to something new, that's fine. I mean,
I personally prefer a laptop.
Okay.
That's just me,
The only reason we didn't do laptops the first
because
time
of the,
was because when you're sitting here
Right.
and the
Mhm.
screen's up,
right.
yeah.
that it can block your view if you're short like me.
No,
So we wanted
that's-
something that was kind of low profile, but most of the tablets are, well, a lot of the tablets now, you have the hinged
Mhm,
top, so
right.
you could flip it around and it works like a tablet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could do the laptop with that hinge, and
Right.
then we avoid that. We can do laptops to work with, and for council meetings, we're basically just viewing anyway, so if
Yeah.
it was flipped.
I'm fine with this, so long as it works. I'm okay. I mean, this is the only thing I'm using it for,
So laptop, Surface Pro, laptop.
Laptop.
And if we could, the flexible one that just, because they have them with you can take the top off
Yeah.
and you can
It-
have
it's
a
a
keyboard.
It's a laptop and a tablet all in one.
Right,
You
right.
can, it's a
That's kinda
screen,
what I
the
was
screen is
talking about.
interactive and,
Yeah, and
okay.
you can flip it, and touch screen is great, and, you know.
Because it is hard to, especially when you're doing ordinances and resolutions, and these things are okay, but
And I know that Councilman Ireton wanted a laptop as well, so I'll just ask Bill to look into pricing for laptops and maybe even just go ahead and consider, at least 5 if you want to take a look at what they're gonna get, and I don't know who else has one, I know I do, and
I'm honestly, I'm happy.
You're good? All right.
I'm with what I have, so
it's nice to have, be able to see.
I'm cheap.
Good.
So.
Normally I am, except when I come to see.
Well,
For real, that's my thing.
the other thing you should consider is that these are starting to come close to their end of life,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
we've already had one go, this one, the fan's not too great on.
Yeah,
So that's not gonna last you 4 years, I'm not even gonna say
Yeah.
probably,
No.
that's not gonna last you 4 years. So,
It's
that's
got
why
some-
we're having
It has
that.
some miles on it already.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
it
tell
does.
you, so.
Yeah, we've had them
It does.
2.5 years
So
already.
you might as well join us.
yeah.
But you could get another one just like it, you know, the upgraded version or whatever, which is
If-
lighter and thinner.
If that's what they wanna do, that's fine. I mean,
Okay, we'll see what Mr.
See what-
Garrett
let's
comes
see
up
what
with,
the
and
price-
I'll-
let's
I'll
see what
work
the
with
price
Mike
is,
and
too.
look at pricing and see how many units we need, and then we'll go from
Yeah,
there.
before
And
we-
I apologize, we weren't further along.
That's
but
okay.
No,
Mr.
it's
Garrett's
No
help.
problem. Any other issues? Mr. Stevenson, anything for,
Nothing from the mayor's
Wait,
office,
wait,
sir.
Mr.
Thank
Jackson?
you.
Wait a minute. Let me think, there was something.
think, I'll come back to you.
Thinking?
I know, we did the meeting earlier this month with Jake, and the city, that was supposed to be a goal-setting session. Are
Yes.
we gonna do something similar for the council as we set some
Implement
priorities
those
of issues and items coming up for the next year?
Well, I think the whole concept of us being there and going there was the fact that we are gonna use the same goals.
Yeah.
And then, so that we have an update now. We should get an update on the second round of, there was
Yes,
another meeting,
We
right?
got the preliminary information back from Ms. Ennis. We took that information and went through the department head goal-setting session.
Right.
From there, everything will be condensed down into the 5 or 6 most important outcomes for the city of Salisbury, and then everything will be rolled out and lined up with the budget presentation, so that the mayor and council have their goals, and then the department goals will align with them. So we're headed in that direction.
Last year, what we did, we requested that the goals and objectives be done first and on the screen, and then each of the departments made their presentation based on achieving each of those goals. And then we had a good idea where things were coming. And then we also took it another step, and although some of the departments already have good metrics, making sure that there were metrics so that we could measure how we're doing against those goals. And then that should be part of the budget presentation, I think. We should be in good shape.
We're actually developing those metrics now, and the department heads will begin incorporating them into their discussions with the mayor, and then we'll further refine it from there so that it lines up with everything that we all provided early on. So we're well on our way to getting there.
I'm looking forward to the process this year, because
Yeah, it should be it should be streamlined.
I'd also thought that, and I don't know how you guys feel, that it might be good to hear from the personnel committees first, because when we heard from them consistently through the years, when the personnel committees came in, there were always things that came up that we then had questions for, and we ended up bringing the department heads back to have that discussion. So I'm just wondering if it doesn't make more sense to have them in before we have the department heads in, have the discussions with them. Each department, or most of the departments, have a group that's made up of employees from that department for the Personnel Commission. And they come in and talk to us about what they're hearing and seeing and thinking, and what they'd like to see come out of the budget, and what's critical to them. And then we compare that to what the
What we
other
already
critical
have.
items list that we get, or whatever it's called, essential items.
Essential.
Now. Essential now,
Yes.
yes. I just think that might save some time too, if we hear from them first, instead of having department heads come and do their presentation. Then we have them come in, and then we have to bring the department heads back to talk about what they told us.
Do you see anything?
No, I think it's a good idea. Actually, I had included it in the some of the earlier notes and took it down again today.
Good.
So as long as the mayor has no objection,
Yeah.
we certainly can consider that.
Okay, if he does, just let us know.
Okay.
And I can't remember the other thing, I'll email everybody.
Okay. All right, in that case, good afternoon. Nice to have you here. If there's no other business, I'd like to wish everyone,
Did you have
oh,
You have
we have to open the meeting. We
you have to close your work session.
close the work
And-
session
And then
And
open
maybe
the
take a 5-minute,
special meeting.
and take a
maybe-
5-minute break.
if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So we will now close the work session, and we will come back in a couple of minutes, let's say 5 minutes, and we have a special meeting that we're going to have to handle. Okay?
That was advertised for 4:15.
4:15?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just, 2 minutes. How's that, is that all right?
Two